This hybrid flash exists between two worlds. It was released over 6 years ago at this point, and it's barely larger than a speedlight, but almost 4 times as powerful. At around $300 US, it has literally created a category all on its own. I think hands down the most underrated feature of this flash is the swappable bare bulb head. I'm a huge fan of the hot shoe flash. I still use them in my professional work on a weekly basis. But if you have a look at all the elite level flashes in the world, all of them have a bulb that protrudes from the front of the unit. This is for a couple of reasons. The first and most important is to properly fill your lighting modifier. If you have a look at the shape of the front of each head, it becomes pretty obvious why. The traditional Fresnel type flash head is going to put out a beam of light that is roughly the shape of an oval. It's very directional, which means it doesn't really have a chance to bounce around on the inner reflective surfaces of the softbox. This means you'll likely end up with a bright hotspot in the middle of your light and will have a more poorly diffused light source. The bare bulb head, however, puts out light in every direction, which means that when it sits in your softbox, it's basically going to have a chance to hit almost every inch of that inner reflective surface. By the time your light gets to your subject, it's going to be more thoroughly and more evenly diffused. This is one of those things that a newer photographer probably won't understand, but sometimes you look at someone's work and it seems like they have this impossibly smooth, even natural feeling light. This usually comes down to the quality of their diffusion. The next glaring benefit of this flash is obviously the output power. At basically the same size as what a speedlight is fully opened up, it actually packs the punch of somewhere between 3 and 4 of these guys. To be 100% honest, it's actually pretty rare that you'll need more power than that when on location. As professional photographers, we tend to plan our shoots around the hottest and brightest parts of the day because we don't want our subjects squinting, and it's just going to be more difficult to deal with for everyone. And if you absolutely have to shoot at midday, the chances are that you're probably going to be finding a little bit of shade or scrimming your subject. Having said that, providing you can get reasonably close to your subject, you should have no problem stopping down the daylight and adding in a more flattering light from your flash. In the past, traveling with that much power has traditionally been very, very difficult. You'd either have to have a monolight and a battery pack, or a big heavy floor pack, or shell out for something expensive like a Profoto B1. With bigger flashes and bigger batteries, your setup becomes more cumbersome and you have other things to worry about, like there's just no way you'd be able to take a setup like that on the plane. The batteries for this flash, however, are so compact and efficient, it would be absolutely no trouble to have 3 or 4 of these in your carry-on baggage to take on a plane. Did I mention battery life? These things are rated to 500 full power flashes. I charge mine in the lead up to every single shoot, but I've never even come close to running out. Seriously, do the maths on that. That is 1,000 flashes at half power and 2,000 flashes at 1/4 power. With a second battery, you'll go all day on this thing, perhaps even all week, depending on how much you're shooting. I own and use the older version, the original AD200. Depending on where you buy it from, it's about $50 to $100 difference to the AD200 Pro. Firstly, the AD200 goes down to 1/128th power, whereas the AD200 Pro goes all the way down to 1/256th power. That seems a small thing to be able to use less flash power, but it's actually a pretty handy function to have. On the AD200 Pro, you can also change the power in 1/10 of a stop increment, whereas the AD200 you can only do in 1/3 of a stop. This has never ever been a problem for me. In fact, I think it would kind of be annoying to have to scroll down 20 times to just go 2 stops difference in power. Both of these things don't really make any difference to the average user. Another very handy feature of the Pro model as opposed to the original is the Pro will supposedly recycle up to 15% faster. Depending on the sort of photography that you do, this may well be worth the upgrade if you tend to shoot fast. Personally, I've never had an issue. I've never thought it was slow at recycling anyway. For 95% of people, the AD200 will be more than enough. Okay, so how can we make this flash even better? There are a few key, very affordable accessories that will take this flash to the next level. The first one I can't recommend highly enough is the silicone bumper. This is simply a piece of molded rubber that fits right over the back of your flash. It's got handy little cutouts for all the important things. There's the on and off power switch. There's the sensor on the top for the optical slave. You can even take the battery in and out with the bumper on. And most importantly, it's just got these bits sticking out of the back that is going to protect the most delicate part of the flash, which is this LCD screen, these back corners, because if your flash is going to tip over, this is the part sticking out of your softbox, and this is the part that is going to hit the deck and break, the most delicate part. For the money, this is an absolutely amazing insurance policy. If you don't think your flash is likely to tip over, then you're wrong. At some stage, if you're shooting outdoors on location, a gust of wind is going to take it. And no matter what your sandbag setup is like, it's going to hit the deck. There's not much else to say. This happened to me recently. This bumper is worth its weight in gold. And as an added bonus, it also doubles as a really cool stand, just making it a lot more sturdy than just a flash on its own. So if you ever need to just place it on the ground and pop off some flash behind your subject. Very easy to do, very secure. Highly recommend. This is my #1 pick for great accessories. The zoom reflector dish seems like such a boring thing, but it is so useful. Earlier in the video, I mentioned that the Fresnel head is going to project a more uneven beam of light. This is going to solve that problem with a zoom dish on the front of your flash. Actually, you're going to mount it to your bracket. Like so. The zoom dish will give you a perfectly round, consistent pattern of light and make sure that you're not wasting flash power unnecessarily. For something like an umbrella, for example, this thing works so beautifully. It's going to focus and direct light in a perfectly circular beam to make sure you're getting the maximum power and the maximum efficiency from your battery. If you just point your bare flash head into the back of your umbrella, I promise you, you're wasting light and you're running down your battery unnecessarily. I have a rule of 1 additional battery per flash, absolute minimum. And the peace of mind that this brings you is enormous. Realistically, I spend most of my time shooting between 1/4 and 1/8 power, which means I will get thousands and thousands of shots, and 2 batteries will last me multiple shoots. For the price of one of these batteries, just knowing that I have it in my back pocket at all times, it is 100% worth it. It takes an already awesome flash and turns it into something that feels like an unlimited lighting machine. Make sure you have a backup. I'm going to assume that if you use a Godox flash already, then you have one of these triggers, but if you don't, this thing is an absolute must. I prefer this model over the X Pro model purely because of the way that it looks on camera and the way that it sits in the hot shoe. You can control all of your settings from right here on top of the camera without ever having to walk around and adjust your flashes. You can change the mode, you can sort them into groups, you can power them on and off without ever having to buy another receiver because the wireless is built right here into these flashes. For $59 US, you would be absolutely silly to not get one of these. It's really important that you get the right one for your model of camera, and I'll leave links in the description to all the major brands. If you like this video, check out the one on screen now. It's a behind the scenes photo shoot in which I put this guy right here through its paces.